You wake up. No buzzing phone, no packed schedule, no flood of notifications lighting up your screen. Just quiet. Just you. And at first, that silence feels off, uncomfortable. Then it hits, that gnawing doubt, that tightness in your chest. Not loneliness, but something deeper. The fear that you don't matter. That if no one's reaching out, maybe you're falling behind. Maybe you're not enough. Most men run from this feeling. They grab their phones, text someone just to fill the void, or mindlessly scroll, anything to escape the quiet. Because we've been taught that silence means something's wrong. That if you're not constantly connected, you're losing. But what if the silence isn't a punishment? What if it's a doorway? A doorway most men are too afraid to walk through. The world taught you to fear being alone. But no one told you what happens when you lean into it. When you stop chasing noise and finally face the quiet. Here's the truth. The man who embraces solitude, who chooses to walk alone, isn't weak. He's dangerous. Because he's building something no one can see, something unshakable, internal. This isn't for every man. It's for the ones tired of being picked last. Tired of performing for approval. Tired of squeezing themselves into spaces they've outgrown. It's for the man who's done running and ready to rise. In a world screaming for attention, the man who chooses stillness, he becomes unforgettable. This isn't isolation. It's reclamation. You're not escaping the world. You're returning to yourself. Too many men drift, from relationship to relationship, job to job, shallow friendship to shallow friendship, chasing validation like it's oxygen. But what if you stopped? What if you sat with yourself? That's when transformation happens. Your mind sharpens. Your voice deepens. Your standards rise. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing others to see your worth, that's when they finally notice. Before we dive in, I want you to do something. Drop a comment below. I choose solitude to forge my strength. Not because it sounds cool, but because you're done hiding. Because you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming. This is your line in the sand. Type it. Own it. Let's begin. 1. The fear of silence. You're sitting there. No distractions, no alerts, no one demanding your time. Just your breath. And underneath it, something heavier. Your thoughts. Most men don't fear being alone. They fear what aloneness reveals. Not the absence of people, but the presence of truth. Silence isn't empty. It's confronting. It doesn't scream or shame you. It just opens the vault. The regrets you buried, the promises you broke to yourself, the versions of you that never got built, they all show up. Uninvited, unfiltered. That girl who walked away. That opportunity you didn't take. That person you swore you'd become but didn't. You try to look away, but there's nowhere to hide. No conversation to drown in, no relationship to lose yourself in, no performance to keep up. Just you. And the truth you've been avoiding for years. Now comes the real question. Will you face it? Or will you run again? That's why most men stay busy, jumping from woman to woman, goal to goal, screen to screen. Not to build something, but to escape something. Themselves. Because silence strips the mask off. And when it does, you have two choices, shatter or awaken. At first, the silence is brutal. It amplifies every insecurity. You're not enough. You'll always be forgotten. Nothing you do matters. But if you stay, if you breathe through it, something shifts. You realize, those thoughts aren't you. They're echoes. Old scripts. They knock, but you don't have to answer. That's when clarity comes. Not with fireworks, but with a quiet knowing. You are not your past. Not your failures. Not the people who left. You are the man who stayed. The one who sat in the fire and refused to look away. That's rare. That's power. That's stoic. Growth doesn't start in the gym, or in books, or in motivational videos. It starts in stillness. The moment you decide you're worth facing. You let the storm rage. You don't fill the void. You let it exist. And in doing that, you reclaim what most men never touch: inner command. From that silence, a new voice rises. Not loud, but steady. Not perfect, but real. And when you move again, you move differently. Your words land harder. Your presence feels grounded. Not because you've changed the world, but because you've finally returned to yourself. Here's the truth: the world doesn't need more men who blend in. It needs men who can sit in silence and walk out with clarity. Because that man, he doesn't chase. He doesn't beg to be seen. He becomes seen. Not because his energy asks, but because it declares. 2. Approval detox. Most men are addicted to something they can't even see. Not alcohol, not drugs, approval. They check their phone first thing in the morning, not for information, but for validation. Did she text back? Did they like my post? Did someone notice me? It seems harmless, but it's not. It's neediness disguised as connection. And here's what makes it dangerous: it's invisible. No one warns you about it. There's no rehab, no intervention. But it eats at you slowly, not just changing what you do, but rewiring who you think you are. Approval seeking makes you small. You say yes when you want to say no. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You avoid silence, avoid honesty, avoid standing alone, just to dodge rejection. You think you're playing it safe, but really? You're playing small. Trading your voice for comfort, your identity for applause, your freedom for belonging. Over time, that need to be liked becomes a prison. You decorate the walls with compliments, but you know the truth. You're trapped in an image others built for you. Not the man you were meant to be. Here's the hard truth: approval is a high. It hits fast, then fades. And like any high, it leaves you craving more. More attention, more validation, more performance. Until you burn out. Not because you're weak, but because wearing a mask is exhausting. But there's another way. It's not easy, but it's real. It starts with an approval detox. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop molding your opinions to fit the room. You start asking, am I doing this because I believe in it, or because I want to be liked? That question alone changes everything. You stop chasing quick validation. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop explaining yourself to people who weren't listening anyway. At first, it feels like withdrawal. The silence is loud. The doubt creeps in: what if they don't like me anymore? But you sit with it. You let the discomfort sharpen you. And slowly, a new voice emerges. Not loud, not dramatic, just solid. Your voice. The one buried under years of performance. Then comes the shift. You stop texting just to stay relevant. You stop laughing when it's not funny. You start guarding your time, your truth, your peace. People notice. They sense something different, a weight in your presence, a stillness in your eyes. You don't need attention. You carry it. That's the paradox. When you stop trying to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. Men who chase approval blend in. Men who choose themselves. They stand out. Not by being loud, but by being aligned. They know what they believe. They know what they'll tolerate. And most of all, they know who they are when no one's watching. An approval detox isn't clean. It costs you fake friends, hollow compliments, temporary applause. But what you gain? Everything. A respect, not demanded, but earned. Peace, not from hiding, but from standing firm. A power, not from control, but from clarity. So ask yourself, am I still living to be liked? Still bending to make others comfortable? Or am I finally ready to choose myself? Because once you do, something changes. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You stop performing. You just become. And the world adjusts. 3. Clarity through solitude. There comes a moment in every man's life when the noise fades. Not because the world gets quieter, but because you step back. No expectations. No pressure. No endless scroll of opinions. Just you. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. The fog lifts. Not gradually, but suddenly. Like you've been squinting at life through a dirty windshield, and solitude wipes it clean. This isn't isolation. This is restoration. The process of peeling back everything that isn't you, until only truth remains. In the chaos of everyday life, you're reactive. You're adjusting, performing, constantly checking. Am I doing this right? By whose standard? Someone else's. But in solitude, you slow down. You observe instead of react. You notice. What thoughts actually belong to you. Which goals were never yours to begin with. How much of your success was just borrowed. You realize you've been chasing a version of life that never felt like home. Then comes the question most men never ask. If no one was watching, what would I actually want? Solitude gives you space to answer. No pressure. No timeline. No need to perform. Just raw, unfiltered clarity. At first, it's uncomfortable. You'll want to reach for your phone. You'll crave distractions. That's normal. You're detoxing from a lifetime of noise. But if you stay, the mirror clears. You stop pretending to enjoy what drains you. You stop tolerating hollow connections. You stop lying to yourself to avoid discomfort. And you start living aligned. Not perfect, just real. This is when you begin. Saying no without guilt. Cutting ties not from anger, but from certainty. Creating space not because you're distant, but because you're discerning. Solitude doesn't just clear your head, it sharpens your vision. You become intentional. Your days stop being about survival and start having direction. Your routines match your purpose. Your circle reflects your values. Your environment becomes a mirror of who you are, not who you were pretending to be. And something else changes. You stop explaining yourself. No more arguing your choices to people who'll never understand. No more proving. You simply live, and let your life speak for itself. That's when you realize you're no longer available for drama. No longer vulnerable to manipulation. No longer swayed by surface-level noise. You're rooted. People can disagree. They can misunderstand. They can walk away. And you remain unshaken. Because you're not living for them anymore. You're living as the man you were meant to become. That's the real power of solitude. It burns away distraction. It incinerates the versions of you that were never real. What remains? A man with peace in his chest and purpose in his stride. He doesn't speak to impress. He speaks because it matters. He doesn't chase. He builds. He doesn't need to be understood, because he finally understands himself. So if your world feels quiet right now, don't panic. That silence isn't emptiness, it's an invitation. You don't need more likes, more replies, more noise. You need more stillness. More moments where you sit alone and meet the man you've ignored for too long. Yourself. The man who walks alone isn't broken. He's rebuilding. Not running from the world, but returning to his core. Refining. Sharpening. Burning away everything that was never his to carry. He doesn't move like someone waiting to be chosen. He moves like someone who's already chosen himself. And when you become that man, life aligns. The right people stay. The wrong ones fade. Opportunity doesn't need to be chased, it finds you. That's not magic. That's mastery. If this silence resonates with you, don't just scroll. Act. Drop a comment. One distraction I'm releasing is _________. Then hit like, not because this was entertaining, but because something in you woke up. And if you're ready to build real strength, not followers, not hype, but unshakable clarity, then subscribe. Here at Channel Name, we're not chasing approval. We're forging men who lead from the inside out. The quiet ones. The grounded ones. The dangerous ones. Welcome to the path.